illegal use of hands, and proper training.
GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com has 14 different highly skilled trades with tuition-free training in our certified apprenticeship program to train you the right way. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
For a healthier future together, look to Northside Hospital.
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of the battle? Will you still train like a champion in pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrician. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
We're going to start in about 2 or 3 minutes. So if everybody could find a seat that's already in here, that'd be great.
That's priority. And we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Beginning the morning you opened your eyes, we spent every waking moment preparing you for the day you'd leave our nest. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for, what am I going to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Local 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply a job, it's a career. Visit IBEW613.org to
I'm I.J. Rosenberg. I'm the president of SCORE Atlanta and the executive director of the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. We want to welcome everybody here to the College Hall of Fame. This is our third class. We're very excited. It's going to be a little bit tight in here tonight, but we're going to get through this thing and we're going to have a great time. First thing I want to do is I want to bring in the board. Our board's about 46, 47 strong. So I want to introduce and bring in the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame board. Board, if you could come on in. The board can come on down the middle. You've got seats right here up front. All right, let's give a hand to the board. All right, now I want to bring in, we've got a few from the 2022 class. I want to bring them in, the inaugural class of the Georgia High School Hall of Fame. Come on in. And we'll also bring in the 2023 class, members of the 2023 class that are here. So both the 22 class and the 23 class. All right, guys, y'all can sit right down there in front if y'all like. All right, now I want to introduce, we've got a few more. Come on down. Guys, come on in. I saw Charles Grant here. Is he with you? Big Charles? Come on in, guys. We've got seats for y'all in the second row, and y'all can fill those seats in right there. Y'all are welcome to fill those seats in. Also, Charles, the second row, too. All right, now I want to bring in the new inductees. We've got 30 of them and their representatives. So this is the 2024, the new class of the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Come on in. Hey, can you tell Juliana to come on up here to the stage? If Juliana Carey can come on up to the stage. So this is the new inductees. Everybody has a name on their seat, or the rep has their Hall of Fame name on the seat. If all the inductees could, or their reps could, there's just one seat per inductee. So if y'all could come on in and find your seat. All right, I want to welcome everybody to the 2024 Georgia High School Football Induction Ceremony. Like I said, I'm I.J. Rosenberg, and Executive Director of the board. I want to thank the board.
at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thanks, Juliana. That was great. So I have to tell one quick story. Last night, we do TV games every Friday night. We've been doing them for years. And we had Decatur hosting Woodward Academy. And Jack Pitts, who's one of our inductees this year, he didn't play at Decatur High School. He played at the black high school next door, Trinity, back in the, it's been a while. And he told me just a fantastic story. I hadn't been back there in years. Was a star at Michigan State. Was one of the real breakthroughs to integration, especially in the Big Ten. And we're really proud to have Jack and his whole family here tonight. But he was looking at the field, and he says, IJ, let me tell you what happened. They were playing a game, and Decatur and Trinity both used the Decatur High School field. And Jack threw an interception that was returned for a touchdown, and I think that lost him the game. And Jack told me that he actually ran down the right sideline after the game and jumped over the fence because his home was only like about, 2-3 minutes away? But that same fence was still there. And Jack, how many years has it been since you've been to Decatur High School, that field? 1966. 65, 66. So I thought, it's such a wonderful story. And there's 30 just amazing stories tonight that we'll have the opportunity to tell you. Want to start off thanking our sponsors, GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and Randy Beal, IBEW Local 613 and and Kenny Mullins, who's here tonight. Good to see Kenny. Smart Local 85 and Steve Langley, a new sponsor, Northside Hospital and Ed Shaddix, who came in this year. We're real excited about them. The Arthur Blank Foundation, which supports so many things in this city. We want to thank them. And, of course, we also want to thank the College Football Hall of Fame for hosting us. Before we move on, though, I'd like to introduce the new director of the Georgia High School Association. Dr. Robin Hines has been the director for quite a while, has done an incredible job, and Tim Scott has taken his job. And I know Robin, Dr. Hines, is still helping him, but I want to call Tim Scott up and let Tim welcome everyone.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, honored guests, and most importantly, our distinguished class of 2024. It's both an honor and a privilege to stand before you today as we celebrate a remarkable achievements of this third class. As Executive Director of the Georgia High School Association and a member of the Hall of Fame Committee, I can tell you being a part of this great event is an amazing honor. Reflecting on the previous two classes of inductees, I'm reminded of the incredible talent that we have in our great state. This year's class is no exception. Each of our inductees inductees has made profound contributions to their schools, communities, and their dedication, excellence, not only inspire our current athletes, but exemplify the spirit of football in this great state. Selected honorees for the Hall of Fame is no easy task. It serves as a testament to the depth of talent and the quality of individuals that we have here in Georgia. Each nominee is bringing a legacy of hard work, perseverance, and outstanding achievement, making the selection process both challenging and rewarding. Today, as we come together to recognize the remarkable journeys of our inductees and to celebrate a rich history of high school football in Georgia, their stories remind us of the impact of dedication and passion can have not just on the field, but for a lifetime. It's with honor and pride that I welcome this year's inductees and our guests to this prestigious event and honor these outstanding individuals that continue to uplift the spirit of sportsmanship that defines us. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate that. Got a couple of special recognitions want to give out. Want to bring Dr. Robin Hines up here first. Dr. Hines is, when the idea first sort of went through my mind about doing this, I'd actually called Robin and asked him if there was a Hall of Fame, and I think he was surprised there wasn't. But he's been a huge help. Not only has done a great job with the Hall of Fame, but just a tremendous job with all of sports, not just football in the state. And Dr. Hines, we have something special for you. I guess I should have unwrapped it. But we're making you an honorary member of the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, Dr. Hines. Then I'd like to bring up another friend, Dave Hunter. Dave, come on up. It's Dave's 80th birthday. And, you know, Dave and I have done a lot of cool stuff together, Corky Kell, Dave Hunter Classic, and various other things, including the Hall of Fame. And before we go on, let's sing Dave Hunter Happy Birthday. You ready? All right, happy birthday. So I got Dave. We're making him an honorary member of the Hall of Fame, but I'm going to give you this. But the more important part is Dave turned us all on to pickle juice. And when Dave gets tired, needs a little bit of a lift. So my daughter Ashley, who's helped run this evening, or actually is in charge of this evening, so I wanted to give you this. Happy birthday.
Great for leg cramp. Thank you.
Dave, hold on one second.
So we got you a little cake.
Thank you.
So I'm going to put it out here so you can blow it out.
I still got it.
Yeah, hold
Thank
on.
you.
high school football in Georgia. So if Terry and Fred could come on up and accept this. A couple other groups that I'd like to recognize. One, we've got a Special Olympics team here, the Cobb Steelers. Can they stand up? Let's hear you, Cobb. There they are over there. We really appreciate you guys coming. The other thing I'd like to show before we get to the inductees, our first year, we had a couple of players who couldn't make it. One of them was Takeo Spikes. And I've gotten to know Takeo over the years. Of course, he was a great player at Auburn, went on and was a super player in the NFL, was obviously a great high school football player in Georgia. But I think that his video, we presented his jacket on ESPN SEC Nation. And I know some of you have seen this before. But I'd like to show it again because I just think it really talks to his class and what type of person he is, as well as many of the Hall of Famers that are already inducted into this Hall of Fame.
To say the same thing, underutilized, underappreciated. It's not just Kayshawn Booty.
Neighbors,
Jeray Jenkins, Neighbors, Brian Thomas,
Yeah.
great catch. He can make a great catch and a big catch here and there. All right, we want to stop for just a minute here because we got something incredibly cool. Our friend right here, Takeo Spikes, is part of the first ever class of the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. First class.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you. You're being inducted, what, Saturday would be induction day, but you're going to be with us.
He skipped that to be here with us.
Which is amazing.
Speaks to his
and they've sent something for you, and our friend Stewie is going to bring it to you right now.
Oh, my goodness.
You want to do it? Let me unbutton this here, and you can go slap it on him there real quick.
Look at the greatness right here.
Look at this. Look at this Hall of Fame jacket.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Can you take that off for me, please, sir?
So the ceremony again is Saturday, but he's working with us. He's not taking a day off of work. They gave him the jacket, and we're putting it on him right now. But we've got some technical.
Some IFB issues we got to deal with.
All right, there it is. Oh, goodness, that fits like a glove, my man. That actually goes great with the suit, too.
It's awesome. Thank you, man.
That
I
is
appreciate
awesome,
that.
man.
And I really didn't know. I didn't think the jacket was going to be here. I felt bad because I couldn't make it, but I couldn't miss out on the opportunity to work with you guys. But it means a lot. And I think ultimately you look at the amount of guys who are going in the inaugural class. Hines Ward, Shannon Sharp, Mel Blunt, Fran Tarkenton, Champ Bailey. Like, these are all homegrown guys. Also, David Pollock, one of our colleagues.
Stinch. Another one, yeah.
Stinch, shout out to Stinch, Garrison Hurst. So, you know, man, it's really a big honor. And my mom told me that, you know, anytime somebody shows you appreciation, you got to take time to acknowledge it. And that's what I'm doing, man. So all of the times that I truly thought in high school, you know what, why am I just going home after school? Why am I not doing what everybody else is doing? This is a true testament to what commitment looks like.
Gold jacket's next for my man.
Hey, you're on the ballot, man. If we had votes, you're on, man. You're in our Hall of Fame already, so make no mistake. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Fantastic stuff. And thank you, Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, for getting a jacket here. All right.
I think that's one of the cooler moments we've had over the last 3 years. Another thing we're very fortunate to have is by company, when Mercedes-Benz Stadium was being built, was hired to put in the helmet wall. And, you know, we were extremely excited about the opportunity to do that. And we worked with the Georgia High School Association. We've actually redone the helmet wall a couple of times. But below the helmet wall, Mercedes-Benz and Arthur Blank and the Falcons and the United have allowed us to put the Hall of Fame there. We've got a lot of really cool memorabilia there, as well as Mercedes-Benz putting in a brand new digital board this year, which you can see up there right now, which I think is, you know, really, really cool. And we hope that the new class will participate in the memorabilia, because we've really had a lot of neat things in there from high school years, from college years, and from NFL years. So that's the board at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Also want to recognize the schools that are here, and unfortunately I did not put them in the script, so I hope I can remember everybody, but I want you to stand up as I call you. We've got LaGrange High School, a big group from LaGrange. We've got South Gwinnett High School. Big fans of South Gwinnett and Coach Brian Lamar. We've got Shamley High School. We got Decatur High School. And let me say this to Decatur. You played a good game last night. It's not easy playing a Woodward Academy team that was a state runner-up this year, but you impressed me, and we loved having you on TV. So we want to thank you for coming, Decatur. And we also have some representatives from Kell High School. So as we start this, the way the ceremony will work for the induction is we've got different media and different representatives that are going to be calling out the names and reading the bios. You've got programs. Before we move on, I would really like to thank the SCORE Atlanta staff. Too many to name. I don't want to leave anybody out. But I wish you would give a hand. This is all done in-house, okay, in addition to like about 20,000 other things that we do in addition to the high school sports. So if y'all could all give a hand to everybody from SCORE Atlanta, I'd appreciate it. Now I want to turn it over to a friend. He's very popular. It's a shame he's not doing television anymore. He's playing golf up in Athens every day. I heard he's a pretty good golfer. He was just on a big trip. But I want to introduce Bill Hartman. Of course, Bill's dad went into the class last year, so Bill walked for his dad tonight. But Bill, come on up.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Hartman, and I used to be on television. Now I'm a professional golfer. Some days I pay somebody to play. Some days they pay me. Our first inductee tonight is Everett Strooper from Riverside Military Academy. He'll be represented tonight by Eddie Lee Ivory, a Georgia Tech great. Strooper was the first former Georgia high school player to become a consensus college football All-American as the star halfback on Georgia Tech. You may notice this is period music for the inductees tonight. Our next inductee is Frank Broyles from Decatur High School, and he'll be represented tonight by his son, Jack Broyles. Broyles is best known as the College Football Hall of Fame coach who won 7 Southwest Conference championships and a national championship in 1964. He also was a popular color commentator alongside Keith Jackson covering football games for ABC Sports. As a 1941 senior at Decatur High School, Broyles was perhaps the best all-around schoolboy athlete in the state of Georgia. Football, single-wing offense, the red-headed Broyles was a passer, a runner, a kicker, and a punter, scored 112 points, 15 touchdowns on a 7-2 team. In basketball, he averaged 17 points, led Decatur to the Class B semifinals. In baseball, he batted .420 and was the team's ace pitcher. Among his many honors are the induction into the Georgia Tech Sports Hall of Fame, the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame, the College Football Hall of Fame. Broyles passed away in 2017 at age 92. Please welcome Jack Broyles, the son of the great Frank Broyles. All right, congratulations.
All right, great to see all y'all tonight. Matt Stewart, I'm back with y'all again for the 3rd consecutive year. It's such an honor to stand in front of all these amazing football players. It just stunned me, just a little anecdote here, as I was out there in the lobby, and Charlie Ward comes walking in by himself, just no entourage or anything like that. And I'm like, that's freaking Charlie Ward, one of the greatest players ever to play the game, and just comes in. It's great to see you, Charlie. Wonderful. All right, let's get to it. Lauren Hargrove was known as the fabulous Phantom of Fitzgerald. With his 9.7 second speed in the 100, it was written that Lauren was the most recruited player in the country as a high school senior. In 1948, Lauren led the Purple Hurricane to the state championship as Fitzgerald defeated Decatur 20-19 in the state final. Until 3 years ago, in 2021, that was the only state championship in the school's now 113 seasons of football. In that memorable game, Lauren helped Fitzgerald rally from a 13-0 deficit by scoring 2 touchdowns and recovering a fumble to set up the third. He scored 60 touchdowns in his illustrious career, and in 1948 was chosen a Wigwam Wiseman All-American, the only one from the state of Georgia. Famed AJC sports editor Jesse Outler called Lauren the greatest breakaway runner in Georgia high school football history. Lauren would go on to Georgia, where you have a 167-yard rushing game against Auburn in 1951, a record that stood for 22 years. Selected in the 8th round of the 1953 NFL draft by the Green Bay Packers, he played briefly in the NFL and then joined the Army. He would later work for Ford Steel Company here in Atlanta and passed away at the age of 79 in 2009. Margaret Dynamite Warrington Hare was an outstanding majorette for Fitzgerald back then and is here tonight to accept the award on Lauren Hargrove's behalf. Welcome, Dynamite. Silas Jameson of Washington High School is remembered as perhaps the greatest football player and all-around athlete from the city of Atlanta during the GIA era, which lasted up until 1966. The star quarterback of the Bulldogs, Silas led Washington to the 1958 state championship, defeating Hudson Ballard 33-6 in the final, and then a state runner-up finish the next year in 1959. Silas accounted for 4 touchdowns in that state championship game, passing for 3 and running for another. Silas was the quarterback on the team of that era, playing for the coach, Georgia Sports Hall of Famer L.C. Baker. That 1958 title was the 4th state championship for the Bulldogs, which at the time was the most ever in the GIA, and by the way, the last title that Washington has won since then. Silas passed up opportunities to play college football, opting instead to sign a bonus contract with the Philadelphia Phillies. He would go on to play 4 seasons of pro football, or pro ball, I should say, baseball, before calling it a career. Please welcome Silas Jameson to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Silas, come on over here. We want to ask you a few questions. How you doing, sir? Yeah, pleasure to meet you.
Thanks.
Let's turn around and face the audience here. What do you remember most about that 1958 state championship season, and in particular, your state championship victory over Hudson Ballard, where you accounted for 4 touchdowns?
What I remember mostly is the fine coaches staff that we had, and the players, which one was my cousin, and Joe Allen, one of the better running backs in Atlanta during that time. Mm-hmm.
You guys were phenomenal. Let me ask you one more question. Has it ever crossed your mind if we could put you in a time machine and take you, senior in 1958, and your team, and drop them into 2024, pardon me? How would it be? How do you feel like you guys would do today in football?
I don't know. They're pretty quick today.
I bet you were pretty quick back in the day yourself.
For that time. For that time. I think we'll do well. Yes, sir.
I bet you would. Silas, congratulations on being inducted into the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Let's hear it for Silas. Let's turn it over to Sam Crenshaw.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Crenshaw, and it's an honor once again to be here and be a part of the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. Congratulations to all of the inductees this time, and for all of those past inductees, welcome back. Put these on so I can see what kind of trouble I'm getting into. We're going to pick things up with Lynn Haas. Lynn Haas was a 14-year NFL center, 5-time Pro Bowl pick with Washington Redskins. But as a high school player, Haas was a star, fullback, and linebacker at Wayne County Class 2A championship team in 1959 and the semifinal team in 1958. We made first team AJC All-State both seasons. The 59 state championship game, he rushed for 140 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 35-7 win over Rossville. He also recovered 2 fumbles. And in a must-win region title game weeks earlier, rushed for 110 yards and scored the winning touchdown. He was credited with 10 tackles per game as a senior. And John Donaldson, coach of the 2 state championship Wayne County teams, called Haas the most vicious tackler I've seen in high school. Haas started and played significantly all 4 years. In college, he was switched from fullback to center by Georgia coach Wally Butts. Started 2 seasons, then was the 9th round NFL draft pick, had a 14-year career, 14 years starting. Made 192 consecutive starts Was also Redskins top lineman on the 1972 Super Bowl team, Coach George Allen. Also inducted into the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame 1981, Washington Football Ring of Fame 2002, also before retiring from football. He worked in the banking industry and passed away in 2021 in his hometown. Welcome to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame to Lynn Haas. Najee Wilkins, Score Atlanta is representing it. Next, George Butch Atkinson, Johnson Savannah High School. George Atkinson was an 11-year NFL player, two-time Pro Bowl performer for the Oakland Raiders. But way before that, he led Saul C. Johnson High School of Savannah to the Class 2A championship game in 1963 in just the school's fifth year of existence. Johnson's football teams were 21, 6, and 2 over Atkinson's final 3 seasons. With SEC teams not yet recruiting African-American players at the time, Atkinson signed with Atlanta's Morris Brown College and became a 4-year starter playing receiver and safety. Now, the Raiders drafted the speedy Atkinson in the 7th round. Defensive back was the 1968 AFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. He was boosted by 802 return yards, and he would have 3,681 all-purpose yards in his career. Best known, though, as a strong safety nicknamed Hitman in the Raiders' Soul Patrol secondary. That included Willie Brown, Skip Thomas, and free safety Jack Tatum. They made history as the first all-black starting secondary in NFL history. Raiders won more games in Atkinson's 10 years as a starter than any other NFL team. The 1976 Super Bowl winning team went 16-1. Atkinson is currently a Raiders broadcaster and does pregame and postgame shows with the team now. Atkinson was inducted into the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame in 2021 and a finalist for the Black College Football Hall of Fame. Please welcome to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, George Atkinson. No.
Good evening. I'm George Atkinson from Saul C. Johnson High School in Savannah, Georgia. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you this evening. I'm in Las Vegas where I'm on staff with the Las Vegas Raiders. We're playing the Kansas City Chiefs this Sunday. I want to thank the selection committee for selecting me to the Georgia High School Hall of Fame. It's such a prestigious award, and I'm very proud to be selected. Once again, thanks, and go Raiders.
Too bad he couldn't be here, but you're in Vegas, and you're playing the Chiefs. John Nelson, you're up.
Thank you very much, my friend. John Nelson here with GPB Sports, proud member of the board. Next up on the list, we welcome Tommy Hart. Tommy Hart was a 14-year NFL vet, all-pro defensive end as a player, 3-time Super Bowl champ as an assistant coach. Ballard Hutson, they're getting a lot of love here early this season when it comes to our inductees. That's where Tommy went to high school. 3-year starter, MVP as a senior in 1963. 3-time all-conference player at Morris Brown, just down the street. Also earned 3 letters in track as a sprinter and a shot putter. San Francisco, the 49ers, they took a draft pick on him in the 10th round of the 1968 draft, became a starter at defensive end 1970, held the position as a part of the Gold Rush defense all the way through 77. third in voting for NFL Defensive Player of the Year back in 1976. Finished his career in 1980 as a starter with the Chicago Bears. 1981, Bill Walsh wasted no time in picking him up as an assistant coach. Was on staff for 4 Super Bowl victories in 84, 88, and 89. Inducted into the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame in 1993. The Macon Sports Hall of Fame in 2001. We welcome Sage Campbell to the front to accept as we now bring in Tommy Hart to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Thank you, Sage, and thank you, Tommy, for what you mean to high school football here in the state of Georgia. Next up on the list, Edgar Chandler, star player on Cedartown's first state championship team for Doc Ayers back in 1963, two-time consensus All-America at Georgia, had a 6-year career in the National Football League. AJC's 1963 Lineman of the Year, 1963 Senior Scholastic Magazine All-American, one of just 3 that season from the state of Georgia. Atlanta Constitution prep writer Charlie Roberts wrote of Chandler, Cedartown's 208-pound tackle is probably North Georgia's best all-around lineman in recent seasons and the defensive backbone of Cedartown's championship 11. They beat North Clayton 21-7 for the AA championship, and at 6'3", he was also a center in basketball, won a state title in the shot put and track and field. Was a member of Georgia coach Vince Dooley's first recruiting class back in 1964. Consensus All-America, Georgia 1966 SEC title team, and again in 1967. The Bills took Chandler in the 4th round of the 1968 draft, converted to linebacker, played 6 NFL seasons with the Bills and the Patriots, finished his career as a World Bowl champ in the WFL for the Birmingham Americans, inducted into the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame in 1988. Settled back into Northwest Georgia after retiring, lost his battle to cancer, passed away in 1992 at the age of 46. We welcome Barbara Bordnowski and Tony Carnes to accept on behalf of Edgar Chandler, and we welcome Edgar Chandler into the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame.
Another hand. Before we enshrine our next member into the 2024 class, the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, let me make a quick announcement to all of our 2024 inductees. When the ceremony is over, if you wouldn't mind joining us in the atrium out here, we just want to get kind of a team picture, so to speak, of the entire class and representatives. So if you can join us for that at the end of the ceremony tonight, we would certainly appreciate that. My name's Brandon Adams, and I can tell you it is an awesome privilege for me to be a part of the board for the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. I'm obviously a huge fan of high school football in the state, so I love kind of rubbing elbows with the Hall of Famers, but I also love the chance to learn things about our state and our sport in the state that I did not know prior to that. And for me, one of those areas in which I've really educated myself over the course of the last couple of years is the GIA. And a school like Trinity High School in Decatur. We were in Decatur last night for a great game. And obviously Trinity High School represented tonight as Mr. Jack Pitts goes into the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. He was a quarterback for a 1965 GIA state championship team, throwing 2 touchdowns in that championship game, also recorded an interception while playing on defense. And over the course of his career playing at Trinity, was credited with 33 total touchdowns. Now, also in addition to that, what makes his career in the GIA so important is that Mr. Pitts was really a historic figure in that he's believed to be the first African American from the Atlanta area to go and play in the Big Ten. He went on to a great career there at Michigan State. IJ talked about him just a couple of minutes ago. So an outstanding athletic career, but also a tremendous academic career too. He was valedictorian for Trinity High School as well. And tonight I am very pleased to welcome him into our Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Please give a big warm welcome to Mr. Jack Pitts. How about another hand, everybody, for Jack Pitts right here? So, Mr. Pitts, a moment ago, had a chance to talk about the historic career that you put together and really kind of blazing a trail for players leaving the Atlanta area to go to the Big Ten. At that time, did you have an idea of the fact that you were a trailblazer and that you would create a pathway that many others would get a chance to follow, albeit perhaps too slow, but many others would get that chance to follow? Did you have a sense of the role that you were playing and the change that would be taking place in our state, in our region at that time?
I had no idea. There's a professor at the University of Miami in Ohio who was doing a book on the integration of the SEC. And he said, "You are the central figure in the integration of the SEC." First I'd heard of it 40 years later, you know. But when I came out of high school, Georgia Tech, who were in the SEC, didn't get a call. In 1967, they recruited their first African-American player into the Southeastern Conference. I graduated in 1966.
That's an amazing story. And for people like me and maybe others who didn't know enough about the GIA and don't know those stories and don't know the great football teams like yours at Trinity, you know, if you could sum up in a couple of sentences what the GIA was all about for you, what that time at Trinity was all about for you, what would you tell people who maybe just don't know enough about that chapter of our sport, of our state when it comes to our sport?
Well, it was segregated, so it was all black league. But our team went 13-0. We had 7 shutouts. And we beat a team in Tifton who outweighed our offensive line by 20 to 30 pounds per man. We could ball. One thing you need to know that I've learned through the years, if you can play, you can play. Doesn't make any difference, race, creed, color, sex. If you can play, you can play.
Another hand for Mr. Pitts, please. And now we'll get ready to induct our next member to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. It's a name that Falcons fans will know very well. That's Alfred Jenkins. But before Alfred Jenkins became a great with the Atlanta Falcons, you're going to go back to his time at Hogansville High School, where he was a quarterback and as a senior, an all-purpose yardage total of 1,500 yards while playing offense. Also recorded 7 touchdowns for Hogansville while playing defense. In addition to that, was a terrific basketball player. He was a track star there as well. And then, of course, he would become what we all remember as a great Falcons wide receiver in the 1980s. Receiving record for that organization that would stand all the way to the year 2000 over the course of his time playing for the Falcons. A couple of Pro Bowl appearances. He was a first-team All-Pro in 1981, the highest honor, really, that a player can receive while playing in the NFL. An all-time great Atlanta Falcon. But tonight, will you join me in giving a big hand for him as he's enshrined in the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame for his time at Hogansville High School.
Can we please have Jeff Bauer, Bonnie, and Buck Ballou go to the back of the room, please? as well as Kent Hill and Homer Jordan. Will you guys please go to the back of the room? Thank you.
Good evening. I'm DJ Jones with Sports Vision's TV, radio, magazine from the beautiful city of Columbus, Georgia. What a distinguished honor it is to be a part of this program. The next Hall of Famer is Jeff Bowers, who's a quarterback who led Roswell to a state championship in 1968 and 1970 before becoming a standout player and longtime head coach at Southern Miss. Bauer passed for 3,008 yards in his high school career and was the 1970 AJC Class A Back of the Year and Senior Scholastic Magazine All-American. Roswell was 33-4 in Bauer's 3 seasons as a starter. He made first-team All-State in 1969 and 1970. Bowers was a starter on 5 Roswell state championship teams, 2 in baseball, 1 in basketball, and in addition to 2 in football. Bowers, as his high school best all-around athlete, Roswell won the Class A Triple Crown of the sports in 1970 and 1971 academic year. Bowers signed to play football at Georgia but transferred to Southern Miss after his freshman year. He started 3 years at Southern Miss and passed for 3,589 yards. Bowers was the Southern Miss head coach from 1990 to 2007 and compiled a record of 119 wins, 83 losses, and 1 tie. With 6 bowl game victories, at one time Bauer ranked 6th in the USM total offensive all-time as a player while having coached the 5 quarterbacks in front of him, including Brett Favre. Bowers is a member of the Southern Miss Sports Hall of Fame and the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame. Longtime high school coach Tim McFarland, who's now on the Georgia Tech staff, will have a presentation.
Jeff, Tim McFarland, I'm so sorry you can't be there tonight, but I want to send out a congratulations to you for entering the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. This is a big deal, and all of us from the city of Ross, we're so proud of you. Great memories that you gave us through multiple state championships, and also as a coach later on at Southern Miss. You've meant so much to the game of football, and as a mentor and as a friend, I just want to let you know how much you've meant to me and all of us from the city. So thank you very much. Congratulations, and we're so proud of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Hall of Fame, Jeff Bauer. Congratulations, Jeff. With all the accolades that you've had in your career, what makes this one so special?
Well, you know, I had such a great experience in high school, and I've got a couple of our ex-coaches there, Ray Maness and Pete Poole was here tonight. But what a great experience going to Roswell High School. Back then it was a pretty small place, a little bit like a Mayberry. And, you know, everybody was involved in every sport pretty much. But, you know, to be have an opportunity to played on 5 state championships and win them all my senior year was special. We had good players. We had great coaches, great experience.
We have several teams here represented tonight. What would you what words of encouragement would you give these young men as a former great player and as a coach?
Oh, do the little things right. Be a good student, be a good person. Just work hard to excel every single day. Good things will happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer Jeff Bowers. Our next inductee, Andy Spivey from Chamblee High School. Andy Spivey, the SEC's all-time leading tackler from his days at the University of Tennessee as a linebacker, was the 1972 AJC Class AAA Lineman of the Year in the highest classification and the high school All-American in 3 publications, College and Athlete, Senior Scholastic and Parade. As a senior, he averaged 14 tackles a game, intercepted 3 passes, and recovered 6 fumbles on an 8-2 team that remains the only one in Chamblee history to attain the #1 ranking during the season. The Atlanta Constitution commonly referenced Spivey as Georgia's #1 college prospect during his senior year. GACA Hall of Fame coach Dave Hunter, a Chamblee assistant at the time and former longtime Brookwood head coach, has called Spivey the best player that he's coached in his 40-year career. Spivey signed with Tennessee and was a 2-time first-team All-SEC linebacker in 1975 and 76. Spivey went in the 5th round of the 1977 NFL Draft to the St. Louis Cardinals. He later signed with the Atlanta Falcons after impressing head coach Lehman Bennett during a preseason game against the Cardinals. Spivey won the Falcons' starting middle linebacker job entering the 1978 season before suffering a season-ending injury. Spivey died the next offseason in an automobile accident at the age of 24. Spivey's SEC record of 547 career tackles stood for nearly 50 years, excepting for Andy, Michael Cooper, and Bonnie, as well as Tony.
Here's one of the great football players from the state of Georgia, Ben Zambezi from Mount DeSales Academy. He'll be represented tonight by Buck Ballou. Zambezi is the University of Georgia's all-time leading tackler and a 3-time All-Southeastern Conference player who went on to become a Canadian Football Hall of Famer. In high school as a 4-year starter, Zambezi led Mount DeSales of Macon to championships in 1970, 71, and 73. As a senior fullback and linebacker, he was the leading tackler who also rushed for 1,131 yards. At Georgia, he was the leader of the Bulldogs' junkyard defense and was one of the leaders on the 1976 SEC championship team. Zambezi played 10 seasons in the Canadian Football League, was elected to the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame, and he's a member of the Tiger Cats Wall of Honor. And also, he's on the University of Georgia's Team of the Century. Buck Ballou representing Ben Zambezi, the latest inductee in the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Thank you, Buck. Little video.
Good evening, Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow inductees. I'm taping this from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, once known as the Pittsburgh of Canada. It's the city where I ended my 11-year professional football career and now reside. Tonight, I want to go back 54 years to 1970 when my football journey began at Mount DeSales Academy, a small Class C school in Macon, Georgia that had been an all-girls school 4 years earlier. At age 14 in my first year, little did I know how little did I know. I want to thank the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, the sponsors, and its selection committee for recognizing and inviting me into the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. A high school hall you're sent into for good behavior, not bad behavior. Thank you all, and God bless.
Our next inductee is Kent Hill from Americas High School. He was the starting tight end on Americas' 14-0 Class AA championship team of 1974, and later a 5-time Pro Bowl offensive lineman. Playing at 6 foot 6 inches, 225 pounds in high school, Hill often was the lead blocker on a run-based offense, so his transition to tackle at Georgia Tech was an easy one. Broke into the starting lineup as a sophomore and anchored great wishbone offenses that produced a 1,500-yard rusher, Eddie Lee Ivory, in 1978 under Coach Pepper Rogers. For 10 years in retirement, Hill was the director of student-athlete development at Georgia Tech. He was inducted into the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame in 2001 and the Georgia Tech Sports Hall of Fame in 2006. Please welcome Kent Hill.
Black right here. It's in there with
Don't leave. Hey, Kent, Bill Hartman, how you doing? Congratulations, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
What does this mean to you to be known as one of the greatest Georgia high school football players?
Well, I mean, it's quite an honor. I am very, very excited about being here tonight and getting this honor, and really want to send my thanks to everybody that had a part in me being here, and so glad to be a part of this. It's such a great group. I mean, I'm just honored to be among the group of athletes that are here tonight.
You know, when you were a great pro player, you were a great college player, but when you play in high school football, your girlfriend's over there, your algebra teacher's over there. Do you remember the closeness that you had with the people at Americas High School?
Absolutely, I do. One of the things my dad always would say, he'd say, can't be particular, and be particular about the company you keep. And I'm still getting dividends from that kind of company today. I got my family here with me tonight, and also, hey y'all, and also, great friend of mine, and the reason I'm here, Michael Harris was the person that the recruiter was coming to see. And he happened to see me too. So that got me a scholarship to Georgia Tech.
Well, you did a lot with it. Congratulations, Kent Hill. Yes, sir. Our next inductee is Homer Jordan from Cedar Shoals High School in Athens, Georgia. He was a first-team All-State player in 1978 and later led Clemson to its first national title in 1981. He was a 3-year starter, two-way player in high school, played quarterback, and he played safety on an 11-1 team that was ranked number 2 entering the playoffs his senior year. Cedar Shoals was 19-3 during Jordan's 2 seasons as its starter. At Clemson, he was a 3-year starter. The iconic 1981 Clemson Tigers team finished 12-0, and he helped launch that program as a national power. He played 4 seasons in the Canadian Football League, 1 in the NFL. After retirement, he went back and coached high school football, spending 10 seasons at his alma mater, Cedar Shoals. He's a member of the Clemson Athletic Hall of Fame, the Orange Bowl Hall of Fame, and the Athens Athletic Hall of Fame. And now we're proud to have him in the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, Homer Jordan. Don't leave. Homer, get on back here. Congratulations. Hey, tell me, what was it like being at Cedar Shoals? Maybe Clark Central was the better-known high school in Athens, but you guys proved something, didn't you?
We did. We proved something that we played football on the east side, too, so. It was fun. We enjoyed it. We beat them my senior year, so that what counted.
Yeah. That's what counted. Hey, you went to Clemson. Really launched them into being a national power. Do you feel that? Do you feel that you were a part of Clemson really becoming something special?
Well, I think it started a couple years before with Steve Fuller. And then I came, and some other good players came, and we built something, won a championship, and then we beat Georgia.
Thank you. Congratulations, Homer. Thank you for being here.
Coach Bauer, we were at Ray Manis Stadium last night televising Roswell's thrilling 48-45 win over Gainesville. Went down to the last play of the game on GPB Football Fridays in Georgia. But I just want to let you know, and you probably already know, Roswell ain't Mayberry no more. It's the big city. All right. Ramblin' Robert Levette is perhaps the greatest running back in Georgia Tech history. And I say that knowing we've got 2 other Georgia Tech running backs going in tonight, Jerry Mays and Joe Burns. So we'll let you guys fight that out in the parking deck later on tonight. But before he started on the flats, he was one of the greatest high school running backs in the state of Georgia. First in line in a legacy of outstanding Cartersville running backs that would later include Keith Henderson and Ronnie Brown. Robert rushed for over 2,100 yards in each of his junior and senior seasons, twice earning AJC Class AA Back of the Year honors and finishing his career with nearly 5,900 yards on the ground and 49 touchdowns. As all great players do, even today, he played both ways, snagging 6 interceptions in his junior season. Robert signed with Georgia Tech as he and Coach Bill Curry helped restore the Yellow Jackets program in the 80s. The first game he ever played in college to this day remains one of the most indelible upsets in college football history, at least in my mind. The 1980 Yellow Jackets had won only 1 game. That was before Robert got there. And they won only 1 game in his first season at Georgia Tech. But boy, was that a big game. They knocked off number 1 Alabama, 24-21 with Robert Ramblin'. Yeah, some more of that, yeah. With Robert Ramblin' for 2 scores, including the game winner in the 4th quarter. In his final regular season collegiate game, Robert would help Tech to a win at Georgia, snapping the Jackets' 6-game losing streak to their rivals. And I'm wondering if he still has a piece of that hedge in his scrapbook somewhere. His 4,066 career rushing yards is a Georgia Tech record that still stands today. It was followed by 3 seasons in the National Football League with the Cowboys and the Eagles. Please welcome Robert Levette to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Robert, it's so good to see you again, and you look great.
Thank you.
So, statute of limitations has passed. Do you still have some of that hedge somewhere?
I do, yeah. That was a big win.
I thought you might. So, been to Wyman Stadium many times. Great environment. Still to this day, one of the great environments in all high school football. What were football Fridays like for you at Wyman Stadium?
It was a lot of fun. You know, epitomizing my development as a football player in my youthful years. It's a lot of fun.
What do you remember about that Alabama game?
My brother coming out and picking me up on his shoulders, acting like we had won, the national championship.
Well, it felt like it. That on that Saturday, in that moment, it certainly felt like it. My last question for you. As I mentioned, you were kind of the guy that started the legacy of the great running back at Cartersville, and Keith Henderson followed you, and then, of course, Ronnie Brown after you. What does that mean to you to kind of be the guy that was the father of the great running back legacy? Of course, now everybody remembers Trevor Lawrence, but before there was Trevor Lawrence, there were great running backs at Cartersville.
It means a lot to start the tradition of being good players from Cartersville. It was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it tremendously.
Congratulations on a great career, and welcome to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame.
Thanks a lot.
Robert Levette, everybody. Ramblin' Robert Levette. You can't say his name without putting the ramblin' at the start. I think we have to thank Al Seraldo for that, don't we? Big Bill Mayo is not only one of the greatest players to ever play for the Dalton Catamounts, but also one of the best linemen to ever play Georgia high school football, and later with the Tennessee Volunteers. In 1980, Bill was named the AJC's AAA Lineman of the Year to cap a career at Dalton playing for legendary coach Bill Chappell, in which he helped pave the way for a 33-7 three-year record, playing for the state championship as a sophomore, semifinals as a junior before his team was upset as a senior in the now defunct region playoffs on a penetration point. Thank goodness we don't have that anymore. But what is still with us today is Bill's great legacy. He was a two-time first-team All-State in his senior season. He was voted the #1 college prospect in the state in a survey of Georgia high school coaches. Sorry, Rusty, there were no on-3 recruiting rankings back then. But I'm sure if there had been, Bill would have been a 5-star and ranked #1 in the state. Standing 6'4", 260 pounds, massive by 1980 standards, Coach Chappell said, quote, "He just overpowers people," which with all the changes in football from then to now, is still what you're looking for in an offensive lineman. Like it is said, the more things change, the more they remain the same. In 2017, our esteemed colleagues at Georgia High School Football Daily named Bill the greatest player in Dalton history. After his days with the Catamounts, Bill went to Rocky Top and at the time started in more games than anybody in Vols history. He was two-time All-SEC, Touchdown Club of Atlanta, 1984 SEC Lineman of the Year, and 1984 Consensus All-American. He returned home to Dalton after his playing days and picked up where he left off with the Catamounts, coaching middle and high school football, working on the radio broadcast, and hosting the coaches show on local TV. Please welcome Mr. Dalton Catamount himself, Bill Mayo, to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Bill, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So, for those who don't know, it's now Bill Chappell Stadium. It wasn't that when you played there, but the environment there in Dalton is one of the classic football Fridays in all high school football in Georgia, maybe in the nation. Just a super environment. What were those Friday nights like for you?
It was just so much fun. You know, the old cliche of rolling up the sidewalks on Friday, that happened in Dalton. And the entire community was there, little kids to seniors, 80 years old, cheering on the Catamounts. Just made it so much fun. And just to be a part of that program and be able to represent Dalton High, I'm really honored.
As I mentioned, 6'4", 260 or somewhere around there. That was massive in those days. We did a game last night where the right tackle was 6'7", 350. And he's a sophomore. Oh, yeah, and he has offers. But if you play today, obviously you're 6'4", that's not going to change. Do you think you would you have played at a bigger weight than you play today?
You know, when I played in the early 80s, I was one of the biggest guards in the conference. I was about 280 pounds. But now I'd be lucky to be a center maybe or an H-back or something. I mean, these guys are so big and fast, it's unreal.
What was your favorite play to hear called in the huddle?
Oh, absolutely. You know, my good friend John Cross is here. He was our tight end, and we got to double team people on power. And that was, I mean, Johnny, you know, he'd knock him out, and I'd just get to finish him off. So
road grade him, right?
Absolutely.
Bill, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Bill Mayo, Dalton Catamounts. Not lying about that environment, too. That was just a great environment there in Dalton, just super fun. So many towns like that across the state of Georgia. The next one I'm going to talk about is like that, too. Jessie the Hammer Tuggle remains to this day one of the most beloved players in Atlanta Falcons history. The hard-hitting linebacker who earned his nickname, and just ask his contemporaries who played against him. He did bring the hammer, was a fan favorite because he was the poster child for every player that was ever overlooked, discounted, and counted out because of his size. The fans loved him, and they still do. At 5'11" and a whopping 180 pounds, Jessie starred for one of the state's legendary football programs, the Griffin Bears. He played linebacker, as you know. You might not know, he also played offensive guard and almost never came off the field. He had 2 college offers coming out of Griffin, Valdosta State and West Georgia. He chose the Blazers, who were still a very new program at the time, and ended up playing for Coach Mike Cavan. He's the guy who recruited and ultimately signed Herschel Walker to play for the Georgia Bulldogs. So Coach Cavan, yeah, he had a pretty good eye for talent. A 4-year starter for the Blazers, naturally. Jessie was a 3-time All-Gulf South Conference honoree, the 1986 Gulf South Defensive Player of the Year, 1986 Division II All-American, and inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2007. When he finished his outstanding college career, NFL scouts and GMs lined up to draft him. Not exactly. In fact, nobody drafted Jessie Tuggle. You know, he's just too small. Jim Cavan called friend and former Georgia Bulldog, then Falcons head coach Marion Campbell, and convinced him to sign Jessie as an undrafted free agent. And it was maybe the greatest thing the old Swamp Fox ever did as the Falcons head coach. The too small Jessie Tuggle would go on to be named to 5 Pro Bowls, 5 times leading the NFL in tackles, would help the Atlanta Falcons to the Super Bowl. Yes, the Super Bowl. And in 2004, inducted into the Falcons Ring of Honor. So you be the judge as Jessie Tuggle makes his way down here. Is he too small to be in the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame? The answer is heck no. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the Hammer. Jessie, my friend. Yes. So good to see you.
Thank you.
You know, back in the days when the Falcons weren't so good, Jessie was always the go-to in the locker room. You could always count on Jessie for a good quote and a soundbite. So we appreciate that. Let me ask you, I didn't know as I was studying, I knew a lot about your career, obviously. I didn't know you played offensive guard. Did you like that?
I don't brag about it too much, but offensive guard taught me how to be tough on the inside. And I was a pretty tough linebacker, always undersized, always played with a chip on my shoulder. And it just taught me to get down and dirty with the big boys.
That's a great point. You played for the legendary Lloyd Bohannon at Griffin. And what did you learn from Lloyd in playing for the Griffin Bears that you carried through to the very end of your career?
You know, like most coaches always tell you, you take care of the little things. And you take care of little things, you'll easily achieve some of the big things you want to go after. And when I was a high school player, they always made me go against the bigger guys, like Mike Mag, who was like 6'5", 270 in high school. And so when I got to go to college in the NFL, size didn't make a difference to me. You would ask me, Matt, to run through that wall, I would do it with no fear. But that's the way I was built on the inside. With that being said, I enjoyed playing for the Griffin Bears. We have produced more NFL players than any high school in the state of Georgia. I had to say that. And my wife is here, and her uncle is a Hall of Famer that played at Griffin High School. So Fairmont High School in Griffin. And it's an honor to represent the Griffin Bears. It's an honor to play in this great state, to be represented right now, with this Hall of Fame. So in my mind, yeah, I'm having a pretty good night right now.
You are, and you look great, too. One final question. So we talked about it, too small to play here, certainly too small for the NFL. It never seemed to manifest itself, however, in anger. You were always a great and friendly and nice guy. But deep down inside, how much did that drive you when you kept hearing your whole life, you can't do this and you can't do that?
Well, when I was in high school and the University of Georgia and a lot of the SEC schools and Georgia Tech, they all just watched my tape. And they loved it. And they would meet me and say, oh, you're only 5'11", 180 pounds. So I went to Valsa State. I got the opportunity to play for 4 years. And I just wanted to go out there and prove to people every time I hit the football field, I'm the best linebacker in the state of Georgia. And so I got the opportunity to play with the Falcons, and the same thing hit me. I wanted to be the best linebacker in the NFL. And after 5 Pro Bowls and finally getting the Falcons to the Super Bowl in 1998, it was a dream come true for me because I've been one of them fortunate guys that grew up right here on a dirt road in Griffin, Georgia. Wound up going to Valsa State, and we ended up on the team with the Atlanta Falcons in 1998 to go to the Super Bowl. So, and I still live here. So I don't have anything bad to say about the university. I mean, nothing bad to say about the state of Georgia at all. Nothing. I just love it, and I'm just thankful for everybody you guys showed up tonight. Thanks to my wife for being here as well, and all my friends that showed up for me, and thank you guys.
Thank you, Jessie. Right. You were all that and more.
Right,
great to see you, my friend.
Thank you.
Jessie the Hammer Tuggle. Wow. Was and always will be one of my all-time favorites.
Sammy?
Jessie Tuggle, my goodness. All right. This next guy, man, Jerry Mays, Thompson High School. He was named the AJC Class 3A Offensive Player of the Year in 1984, when he rushed for 2,379 yards and led Thompson to a 15-0 finish and a state championship game that I witnessed at Marist. The Marist folks are still upset with him. He would go on to become a star running back at Georgia Tech. He's a high school senior. He stood just 5'8", 168 pounds. But he was tough. He could run inside and then quick bursts to the outside under the legendary Coach Luther Welch's wing tee. Rushed for 1,666 yards as a junior on a 10-2 team and finished with what remains as a school record of 4,741 career rushing yards, which broke the record that was previously held by Hall of Famer Eddie Lee Ivory. Georgia Tech is the only major Division I school to offer him a scholarship. Not only will he prove he belonged, he was the ACC Rookie of the Year in '85. 9-2-1 team that beat Georgia and won the Hall of Fame Bowl. Also an All-ACC pick in 1989, rushed for 3,699 yards in his college career, which remains second in school history to Robert Levette, who's also a Hall of Famer. We got a theme working tonight with the Georgia Tech running backs. Mace played one NFL senior with San Diego Chargers and was inducted into the Georgia Tech Sports Hall of Fame in 1997. Please welcome to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, Jerry Mays, represented by his brother Nathaniel. David Rocker. 1986 USA Today and Parade All-American, widely regarded as the state's #1 college prospect when he signed with Auburn, where he would win 3 SEC titles and make 2 All-SEC teams and finish as an All-American. In high school, was a defensive tackle and center at Atlanta's Fulton High School. The Redbirds, 23-10 in his 3 seasons as a starter, averaged 8 tackles, 2.5 sacks per game over his junior and senior seasons. AJC ranked Rocker as the #8 prospect nationally, and Auburn would not be disappointed in what today would be called a 5-star Rusty. That's what we will call him today. After backing up his brother, All-American Tracy Rocker, he began playing full-time. Was a first-team All-SEC selection in 1989 and 90. 1990 consensus first-team All-American, Lombardi Award finalist. Played on Pat Dye coach Auburn teams. At Auburn's greatest sustained success during that time, they were 37-8-3. The Los Angeles Rams would draft Rocker in the 4th round of the 1991 NFL draft, and he played 4 NFL seasons. Since retiring, Rocker has worked high school and college coach, sports broadcaster, and as an ordained minister. Please welcome to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, David Rocker. David, congratulations. I knew you were head coach at Fulton. What would you tell people about Coach Willie Hunter? What would you tell people about that man?
One of the meanest, lovingest coach that I ever had.
Now, that's a combination. Why you say that?
He was a guy who really loved you. When people talk about a coach being a father figure, he was truly that. But he was also a strong disciplinarian, believed strongly in fundamentals. And I still keep in contact with Coach Hunter today because what he taught me back in high school still plays a major role in my life today as far as being disciplined and making sure that you do your best in everything that you do.
One more thing, this area is so well recruited. What is your wish for the young people who are going through that experience today? You've been there.
I would say listen to your coaches. Listen to your coaches. Stay off social media, stay off IG, and stop looking at other guys and what they're doing in California, and listen to that guy who's coaching you right there in your high school.
There you got it. Congratulations. Welcome, Hall of Famer.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next, the Cula Falcon, Terry Harvey, one of the most celebrated all-around athletes in Gwinnett County history, and they have had some great ones in Gwinnett. He's three-time first-team All-State football player, AJC Class A Player of the Year in 1990, went on to stardom as football quarterback and baseball pitcher at North Carolina State. His first All-State season came as a sophomore linebacker, and the final two as a dual-threat quarterback, though he's a two-way starter throughout. As a senior, passed 1,571 yards, 10 touchdowns, and he had 117 tackles, 6 forced fumbles, 14 interceptions. He finished his career with over 7,000 yards combined, rushing, passing yards, and 82 combined touchdowns. The Cula Class A school at the time was 46-7 with 2 region titles in Harvey's 4 seasons as a varsity starter. At NC State, 3-year starting quarterback, passed for 5,925 yards and 38 touchdowns, both setting school records. Now, he also won 35 games as a pitcher, which is also a school record. Pitched a no-hitter against National Power Florida State. He chose baseball professionally, played 3 minor league seasons. Harvey is a member of the Gwinnett County Sports Hall of Fame and the NC State Baseball Hall of Fame. But tonight, he's a member of the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Please welcome Terry Harvey. Hey, Terry. Congratulations.
Good.
Welcome to the Hall of Fame.
It's good to be here. It's good to be back home. I don't get home very often. I spend all my time in Raleigh with my family, so it's good to be back.
We make that remark about you being this all-around athlete in Gwinnett County and what Gwinnett County sports has become.
Well,
how's that make you feel?
Well, it's changed dramatically since I was coming up, but it's obviously gotten bigger, a lot more talent, and as I heard earlier, it's just it's a population center now, and it was big then, but it's certainly it's a great melting pot. Fantastic high school athletics, but very blessed to have grown up in Cula at that time. I think it was, a lot of people thought told me I needed to get to a larger school to get some recognition, but it's like you said earlier, if you can play, you can play. So. But probably growing up in that small town, it had a lot of blessings. I mean, it was community support. You don't get that in a lot of these schools now where you feel that community vibe. It was, everyone was all in. I mean, the town shut down, and it's time to get it on Friday. And, I'm very grateful to be here. I got my wife in town, my 3 boys, and my sister, her husband, Randy. But really glad to be here. But I just, this is something that certainly I hope everyone in Cula and everyone that had a hand in it, can help celebrate and share it with me.
We appreciate you being here. Great to see you, and welcome to the Hall of Fame.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
All right, Taylor Harvey. John Nelson, hand it off to you.
Thank you very much, Sam. Speaking of handing off, the first individual in this particular rotation for me is Joe Burns. Go ahead, let him hear it. If I mention 3 words to coaches that had to play Thomas County Central in Ed Pilcher's time when he was head coach in Thomasville, to play at the Jackets Nest, split back veer. It drew horror from a lot of coaches when Ed Pilcher had that offense humming with Thomas County Central. And part of that was this guy coming up in just a little bit. Helped win the 96-97 state championships, would eventually be a part of Georgia Tech, going to 4 straight bowl games after his time in high school was done. High school senior 1997, AJC, GSWA All-Classification Player of the Year. Thomas County Central got the AAA championship that year, running 15-0. Joe Burns ran for just under 2,000 yards, 234 yards and 2 scores in the title win over Burke County. As a junior, 1996 AAA Player of the Year from the GSWA. AJC Offensive Player of the Year, AAA Championship 14-1, and he cleared 2,000 yards in that season. 5,006 for his career, 68 touchdowns. Played on the 1994 championship team as a freshman as well. We mentioned his time at Georgia Tech, finishing his time as the 4th leading rusher down on the flats. Played 4 seasons with the Buffalo Bills in the National Football League, helped me out on a fantasy team one year. Got me to a title. Thank you very much. And in retirement, something that I have been able to see close up, and it has drawn a smile to my face. When Joe Burns started the Rising Seniors Foundation to help prepare aspiring college athletes for college sports, he was inducted into the Tech Sports Hall of Fame in 2015. This year, he goes into the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. We welcome Joe Burns. How are you, my friend?
Doing well. How are you?
Better now.
Yes, sir.
When I mention Ed Pilcher to you and how he impacted your life, starting with your high school years and everything that you've been able to do going forward, what does Ed Pilcher and your time at TCC mean to you?
It means everything. Coach Pilcher was an amazing man. He taught me so much, taught me how to deal with adversity, and understood that, we can handle pressure. And he put us in a lot of tough situations, and he had confidence in us to deliver. And I was telling, I got a text that Coach Pilcher probably wasn't going to make it through the night. And I didn't believe it. And I picked up the phone and called his cell phone. And he answered. And I was like, it shocked me. And got on the phone, got a chance to speak with him a couple days before he passed. And he was asking about my kids, my wife. And it really just let me know what he instilled in us. Your toughness that you need. With everything that he's going through, he thought enough to answer the phone and encouraged me when I was calling trying to encourage him. He was just an amazing man. What he did for Thomas County Central High School it'll never be forgotten.
Now you're getting to do the same thing with Rising Seniors over the last handful of years. What's it been like for you to take things somewhat full circle with what you're doing now?
It's amazing. When I was in high school, I was all about sports. Did just enough in the classroom. But I know the importance of the academic part of it now, so I had the opportunity to instill that into so many young men that have came through the state of Georgia. It warms my heart, watching college games and NFL games and seeing young men that you had a chance to impact their lives. That's priceless to me.
Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
Joe Burns, everybody. So now we go from split back veer to an offense that was a little bit more wide open. Next up is a quarterback from South Gwinnett High School. You might know him having to do with his college time in a hobnail boot that was in Knoxville, Tennessee, as a small part of what we're going to talk about here. Touchdown Club of Atlanta's Quarterback of the Year, 1999, first-team All-State quarterback, Quad A. First Gwinnett County player to pass for 2,000 yards in consecutive seasons, and when South Gwinnett changed head coaches to T. McFerrin, in his sophomore year, South Gwinnett was winless. They changed to maximize Green's passing and leadership abilities. They go to 8-5 and 9-3. 2017, best player in South Gwinnett football history, according to the Georgia High School Football Daily. AJC Super 11 pick, signed with Georgia. Set an NCAA record, 42 wins as a four-year starter, breaking the record held by some guy named Manning up in Tennessee. Led Georgia to an SEC title in 2002. Passed for an SEC record 11,528 yards. I can't quite do the math when that comes to miles. Maybe David can help me out here in just a second. SEC Freshman of the Year, Championship Game MVP, three-time All-SEC, Citrus Bowl MVP 2004, third-round NFL draft pick, was in the NFL for 4 seasons before retiring, and we now add David Green to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. See you, David. Yeah, man. I asked Joe Burns about Ed Pilcher, so let me ask you about T. McFerrin and the impact that he had on your life for those last 2 years in high school and then going forward into adulthood.
Well, you mentioned in the introduction we were winless my sophomore year, so we were as bad. I quarterbacked the worst team in the history of South Gwinnett football until T. McFerrin came. And it's amazing with great leadership. We literally went from the worst team in the history of South Gwinnett to making it to the third round, the quarterfinals, the very following year. So it just goes to show what leadership can do. And I've told a story a million times. I mean, if Coach T did not come to South Gwinnett, I would have never got a chance to go to Georgia and further my football career.
So everything coming full circle, what's it been like for you to give back in your time, whether you're rubbing shoulders in the NFL, coming back here, all these kinds of things? What's it like for you to continue those kinds of things?
Well, it's fun. I'm helping out at Hebron Christian Academy right now. So
they're okay.
Well, they're doing pretty good right now. It's fun. I've got my kids here tonight. And I tell you, the fun thing about football, it's just fun to be around guys. And I want to give a shout out. I got a bunch of my high school boys. Stand up back here in the back. I got about 10 of my high school boys out here tonight. We got the South Gwinnett High School players and some of my former players out here. And that's what football's about. And the one thing that I don't really like about the way football's going, you get guys that are moving around so much now, you don't build the relationships. And so getting to see TD and Leonard Pope and Hutson and Charles Grant and some of these guys and those relationships that you make playing a game, that's what you remember. I don't remember touchdown passes and the score of the games I played in, but I remember the dudes I played with, and that's the fun part.
And it was fun to see you interact with those dudes leading into tonight. Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
David Green, everybody. Next up on the list is someone much like Takeo Spikes that we saw earlier in the show this evening. If I was just to say that he's a bad man, I think that there would be universal agreement. Thomas Davis is a bad man on the football field. Honorable mention, All-State player who had one major college offer, University of Georgia. During his senior year in 2000, Then he had a 16-year NFL career. He's one of the most overlooked jewels, what we call at Georgia Public Broadcasting, make that kid an offer. A lot of schools missed out on making Thomas Davis an offer, and they found out what not making an offer did when he went to Athens. Southwest corner of the state, the pride of Shellman, Georgia. 0-19-1 freshman and sophomore years. As a senior, rushed for over 1,000 yards on a 6-5 team, but he scored 18 touchdowns. Rarely came off the field, so let me see if I've got this right. Running back, wide receiver, quarterback, I wonder if he ever completed a pass to himself, defensive back, defensive end, punter, and place kicker. So all three phases with Thomas Davis at Randolph-Clay. 3 state semifinal basketball teams, a member of the baseball and track and field teams, 2-time first-team All-SEC, 03 and 04, consensus All-American 2004, as a hard-hitting safety. And that copy is an understatement. Carolina Panthers selected him in the first round, number 14 overall in 2005, Pro Bowl 3 times as a Panthers linebacker, first-team All-Pro on the Panthers' 2015 Super Bowl team. NFL Walter Payton's Man of the Year 2014 for making a significant positive impact on his community. And he won NFL's Bart Starr Character Award in 2016, inducted into the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame in 2024. We induct him tonight into the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, a bad man, Thomas Davis. Congratulations.
Appreciate you.
When you think about your time back there at Randolph-Clay to now, what was it like being out there all night long, giving back to a community, giving back to a school, multiple sports, multiple years? What did all of that effort and drive mean to you that you were there for your community like that?
You know, it meant the world to me because growing up in a small town like Shellman, Georgia, you talked about it being in the small southwest corner of the state, you never really imagine or expect to be able to reach some of the heights that I've been able to reach in my life. You talked about being able to play in the NFL for 16 years, which everybody in this room, especially the athletes, understand and know how much of a blessing that is. You know, you got to be good, you got to be skilled, you got to work hard, but somewhere along the way, you got to get a blessing from the man above, and I've absolutely received that, and I cannot thank so many people enough for just really pouring into my life. You talked about me having one scholarship offer coming out of high school, a Division I offer, and me and D. Greeny was just sitting here talking about it, and I actually got my offer from a coach watching me practice basketball. You play all of these positions, and you don't really understand as a kid whether it's going to hurt you or help you. I just wanted to do whatever I could to get that scholarship offer, and Georgia figured it out. And I hear all these people coming up here bragging and talking about beating Georgia. I guess Georgia is the epitome of what it takes to win in this league. When everybody want to talk about their claim to fame is beating Georgia, but y'all can't really say that crap too much more now, can you? Can you, Georgia Tech?
All right. So let me ask a question really quickly before you get in any kind of trouble here with the rest of the audience.
Hey, look, one thing I paid attention to, Georgia is still winning because we have 10 guys here to Tech 7, so we still winning. No shade.
So no shade? None? What advice would you give to someone in Shellman about being there at Randolph-Clay or being there for a small town, investing in a small town with everyone around, knowing that everyone knows you? What advice would you give to a small town student athlete that might be looking to the future?
Not just a small town student athlete, all student athletes right now that, have a dream. You have a goal, something that you want to achieve, you want to attain in your life. Keep fighting for it. Don't let nobody on the outside deter you or tell you that you can't accomplish or do anything that you want to do in this lifetime, because we have so many living examples that have gone through and have gotten the job done. Myself, personally, I was one of the last guys that gave a scholarship offer to, but D. Greeny, Pope, Reggie Brown is sitting in this room, Charles Grant, all of those guys can attest to the work that I put in from the first day that I got to the University of Georgia to the day that I stepped foot out of that university. I wanted to show and prove to everybody that I belonged, that it wasn't just a gimmick or, you know, a coach trying to put himself in the spotlight. I wanted to prove that I had the talent to be at that university. So I say to the kids that don't believe, that don't have the faith, that don't have the offers right now, keep working. Keep fighting, keep doing the things that you set out to do, and man, the sky is really the limit. I know that's a cliche that we hear all the time, but if you put the work in, you'll get the results.
And the San Diego/LA Chargers fan standing next to you thanks you for your service as well.
I appreciate it.
Thomas Davis, everybody.
Great stuff there from Thomas Davis on a very special night for our Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. And before we give out our next inductee and welcome him into the Hall of Fame, also want to welcome a special guest. You know, earlier on the video screen, got a chance to see the terrific former coach from Roswell and obviously other places, Tim McFarland. He was celebrating, of course, Jeff Bauer going to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Could not be with us, but has now made his way here. Coach McFarland's now on staff at Georgia Tech. Just, I guess, getting back from Blacksburg. I believe he is in the room with us. So, Coach McFarland, thank you for making your way here, and we appreciate so many of our friends and their dedication to what has made the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame so special. I certainly appreciate all of that, and I am very privileged now to welcome our next member into the 2024 class of the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. It's the outstanding tight end from America's Leonard Pope. Now, big hand for Leonard Pope. These America's teams in many ways were ahead of their time for what the sport certainly looks like now. Very successful offensively, and Leonard was a first-team All-State performer on back-to-back state champions in both 2000 and in 2001. Over the course of that time, his America's team goes 29-1, and they average 39 points per game. In this day and age, we see offense all the time. That was probably not quite as common back then. Now, what's cool is you talk to his coach from America's at that time, he'll tell you that even though we think of him as a great tight end, a guy who had great success, all SEC at Georgia, of course, probably a better defensive player, at least the story goes from America's, better defensive player back then than he was on offense, although certainly his offensive success speaks for itself. He made the Georgia High School Football Daily's All-Decade team back in 2009, and, of course, for the Georgia Bulldogs, became a two-time All-SEC tight end, and then went on to play 7 seasons in the NFL, including a trip to the Super Bowl in 2008 with the Arizona Cardinals. Would you do me a huge favor and please welcome from America's High School, Leonard Pope. So, Leonard, we mentioned a moment ago the great success you had individually, but your team had state championships, but also scoring a lot of points. We see that a lot in high school football now, maybe not quite as common back then. How much fun was it to be a part of an offense that was as prolific as what you guys were doing?
It was fun. First of all, I just want to say thank you, Jesus. I'm a firm believer in my Lord and Savior, but I come from a town that sits on a hill where we have a lot of stars and people that came way before my time. And you're looking at them now, you got Micah Harris right there and Kent Hill that just got inducted. When I was small, that was something that I always kind of had in the back of my mind. what if I could be one of those people, you know, and coming up, and what I would say to the kids is there are going to be challenges in your life that you go through, you know, high school kids, even grown-ups, and there are going to be some times and some decisions that you're going to have to make, like going home. When your friends want to do other things, you know, you're going to have to study for those tests, because you know if you cannot pass those tests, you can't play no sports. You know what I mean? So that was something that I kind of struggled with just a little bit, but I knew I wanted to go to college, man. So there were some things that I knew I had to do and some things that I could not do, if that kind of makes sense.
It certainly does. So I mentioned a moment ago, got a chance to play in the Super Bowl. That's the biggest game that there is. As you're getting ready for that, did you ever think, man, you told the story about, you know, where you grew up and, you know, kind of how you got to that point. Did you ever think about, man, a guy from Americus, Georgia makes his way to the biggest game in the NFL, playing for it all? You know, how did what happened in the state growing up here in Georgia, how did that prepare you for all of that?
Like I always say, I mean, I know we got some Tech fans here and stuff like that, but when you in the state of Georgia, I try to tell the people, you know, when you're from the state, try to stick around the state of Georgia, because you'll benefit later on in your life. And for me personally, I took 2 visits, one to Gainesville and one to Athens. And after Athens, I knew I wanted to be a Bulldog. You know what I mean?
You're a smart man.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. So I'm just proud and happy of my achievements and what I've managed to accomplish over my lifetime.
Excellent stuff. Another hand for Leonard Pope, please. Congratulations. An outstanding career, well-deserved in the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. And, you know, you talk about the offense maybe before its time, also the hybrid tight ends that we see now, tight ends that could play like wide receivers. Certainly we would all know Leonard Pope as one of those guys, too. Our next inductee into the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame is Trey Blackman for a LaGrange team that would have ranked as one of the greats in state history over the course of a long run of success. Trey Blackman, of course, was named the State Player of the Year back in 2004. And over the course of his time playing for the Grangers, they were 55-2, 55 wins, just 2 losses during his career. Winners of state championships for him during the 2003 and 2004 seasons. And the defense that Blackman was a part of over that span only allowed 6.4 points per game. He had more than 100 tackles in each of his sophomore, junior, and senior seasons, combined for 25 sacks during that 3-year span as well. And at a time in which the recruiting process was just kind of getting started in terms of getting attention and all of the internet accolades, Blackman was really one of the first guys here in Georgia to get a lot of that and kind of what we think of as the modern internet age. He was a Parade All-American, an AJC Super 11 recipient, and he was named to the Georgia High School Football Daily All-Decade Team also back in 2009, an outstanding player for the LaGrange Grangers. And tonight we have a great privilege here to celebrate Trey Blackman going into the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. We're able to welcome in the LaGrange Grangers football team themselves. They're winners of 6 straight games, having an outstanding season at 7-2 so far in the year. So as they come down tonight to honor Trey Blackman's entrance into the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, would you give the Grangers a big round of applause here? How about another hand for these LaGrange Grangers? And Coach Matt Napier, thank you so much for having your team here tonight, and thank you for the great legacy that continues at LaGrange High School. Outstanding stuff here, guys. Give the LaGrange Grangers another round of applause. And let's welcome Trey Blackman, representing LaGrange, into the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. I also have the privilege of awarding our next Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame inductee for tonight as well. And obviously so many of you are aware of this story, know the story of Demarius Thomas, one of the all-time greats coming out of West Lawrence High School. You know, like a lot of the stories that we've told in our 3 years of doing the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, Thomas playing for West Lawrence really raised that program up to a level of success that it had not been having. It was the first winning season in 9 years for West Lawrence in Thomas' senior year. He had 56 catches for 756 yards and 7 touchdowns. But it was after his time at West Lawrence that Thomas would become truly a household name, playing for Georgia Tech and obviously an ACC championship team in 2009, but as many of you know, it was also a triple option offense. And so you might think that Thomas's opportunities would have been limited, but he became an All-American performer for Georgia Tech in 2009, would go on to be a first-round pick of the Denver Broncos after that, became a 5-time Pro Bowler, part of a Super Bowl team, of course, with the Denver Broncos, and, of course, sadly taken from us too soon back in 2021. We're obviously still sad about that, and yet tonight we want to honor his legacy. We want to celebrate his memory as we welcome him into the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. And we also want to welcome Demarius Thomas' mother, Katina Smith, and she's going to obviously stand up and be represented tonight for the family as Demarius Thomas goes into the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Would you please give me a round of applause here for Katina Smith, the mother of one of the all-time greats from West Lawrence High School, Demarius Thomas, now in the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame.
Please give another round of applause to our inductees up to this point. We're down to our final 3 inductees, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being so patient and so loyal and staying here to respect these guys' honor. Our next inductee, Jonathan Dwyer, rushed for a Cobb County record, 5,565 yards as a running back who put Kell High School on the football map. Then he became a 2008 ACC Player of the Year while a sophomore at Georgia Tech. In high school, Dwyer was a parade All-American and a GACA Class 5 Offensive Player of the Year. And that was in 2006 when he rushed for 1,800 yards. He rushed for another 1,800 yards his junior year and more than 1,000 yards as a freshman in 2003, Kell's first football season. Dwyer was named to the Georgia High School Football Daily All-Decade Team from 2000 to 2009 as one of 2 running backs, as the AJC Super 11 pick and a consensus top 100 national prospect. Dwyer signed with Georgia Tech. He rushed for exactly 1,395 yards twice in 2008 and 2009. He was voted ACC top player in 2008. He also earned All-American recognition from Pro Football Weekly, declaring for the 2010 NFL Draft after his junior season. Dwyer was taken by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 6th round. He played 5 NFL seasons and was the Steelers' leading rusher in 2012. Dwyer now works as an assistant coach on the staff of his high school alma mater, which inducted him into the first Sports Hall of Fame class of 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jonathan Dwyer to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Jonathan. You know, I asked this question earlier, but those young men, if they're still here, what is it that you want them to know, or what would you like to share with them that helped you excel?
Honestly, I just give all the dedication to my dad and my mom. They saw something in me I didn't see in myself. And, you know, my dad always told me, you know, what you do in the dark comes to the light. So, you know, I was always working and grinding, you know, not just with my team, but by myself, whether it was with him running hills, arguing back and forth, or, you know, constantly push myself, and then my mom teaching me how to flip that switch. Being who I normally am, maybe Jonathan off the field, but when it was time to play and get down to business, to go into that dark place.
And lastly, when did you know that you were that dude?
I would say now, the type of person I am now, I would say I was always that guy. But, you know, I was just always the quiet, you know, gentle giant, but at the same time, when it was time to, you know, play bully ball, I was always down to play bully ball.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, Jonathan Dwyer from Kell High School. And while you're at it, why don't you go ahead and give a hand to I.J. Rosenberg and his staff, because obviously we're going to break out of here in record time tonight. It's a little after 9, and we're going to be out of here by 9:30. Appreciate you, I.J. All right. Down to the dog business. Our next inductee, Hutson Mason, Lassiter High School. Hutson Mason was the state's first quarterback to pass for more than 4,000 yards and 50 touchdowns in a season, and the first to demonstrate the full game-changing impact of the spread offense at the highest level in the state, one of the original gunslingers in high school football. His high school, Lassiter, had never won a playoff game and was coming off of a 3-7 finish when it hired coach and spread offensive guru Chip Lindsey, who converted the Trojans to a 4 and 5 receiver sets with Mason as its shotgun trigger man. Mason passed for 3,705 yards, the most ever for a Georgia player in the highest class, and led Lassiter to its first playoff victory. As a senior, Mason buried the single-season records in all classifications by passing for 4,532 yards and 54 touchdowns and leading Lassiter to a 12-1 finish. Mason was the GSWA and Gatorade All-Classification Player of the Year and the AJC's Class 5A Offensive Player of the Year. He was also the Parade All-American and the quarterback on the Georgia High School Football Daily All-Decade Georgia team in 2000 to 2009. Mason still has a few Mason had a few scholarship offers until late in his senior year and ultimately signed with Georgia. He became the Bulldogs starting quarterback in 2014 and passed for 2,167 yards and 21 touchdowns. Mason played briefly in the NFL and the CFL. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, Hutson Mason from Lassiter High School. Congratulations, Hutson. The first original gunslinger in high school football. Give me your thoughts.
Well, I was listening to David Green tell his story earlier, and it kind of reminded me of mine. I was running the triple option my sophomore year of high school, and if you've ever seen me move, me and the triple option don't go well together. So Chip Lindsey comes in and with this air raid offense, and it just fit me perfectly in my skill set. And much like a lot of these guys here, the right coach at the right time with the right scheme, and it made a difference.
I got to ask you, obviously being the guy that threw the ball all over the yard, what made you go to Georgia? Because they certainly didn't do that.
No, they didn't. But I felt like playing for the in-state school, representing being a kid from in-state, from Marietta, playing for that G. Everywhere you go throughout the state, you see it from South Georgia to North Georgia, and you realize the power of the G and how much it means. And ultimately, Mark Richt and Mike Bobo are what kind of sealed the deal for me.
Please welcome Hutson Mason from Lassiter High School to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. All right. Last but not least, another dog. Please welcome Alex Ogletree from Noonan High School to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Alex Ogletree was a parade and USA All-American who helped make Noonan a state power in the highest classification. During his 4 years as a starter, Noonan was coming off of a losing season in 2006, but would put together records of 7-4, 11-2, 13-1, and 13-1, each ending with region championships in Class 5A, then the highest classification. Noonan also made the semifinals in 2008 and 2009. Ogletree, a starter at tight end and safety, was the 2009 AJC and GSWA Class 5A Defensive Player of the Year. Though recruited as a safety, he was a top-notch high school tight end who had 33 receptions for 633 yards and 5 touchdowns his senior year. He blocked at least 14 punts in high school, and as a senior, as a preseason AJC Super 11 pick and consensus number 19 prospect nationally, Ogletree signed with Georgia, as did Alec, his twin brother. A fullback, Alex played linebacker in college and was all SEC player and leading tackler for the Georgia Bulldogs in 2012. And that team finished 12-2 and number 5 in the final AP poll. Ogletree declared for the NFL draft after 3 seasons, and the St. Louis Rams selected him with the 30th overall pick in the first round. Ogletree played 9 NFL seasons with 5 teams and started 110 games of his 111-game career. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Alex Ogletree, Noonan High School, to the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Congratulations. You know, most of these Hall of Famers in here obviously did things a lot of things when nobody was watching. What would you share with everybody in this room, especially the younger kids that are playing now? What did you do when no one was watching?
Pray. Get right with the Lord, and, I thank my parents and
grandmother and all the family and all my teammates and stuff. And, you know, obviously worked hard. Went out there, ran my heels and did all kind of stuff, push-ups, all that stuff like that. But, you know, first and foremost was getting right with the man upstairs. So.
As one of the great players out of Noonan, Georgia, a great friend of mine, Drew Hill, was a great high school player as well as college and professional player. What was it like to obviously be revered and thought of in that light?
You know, it was something I didn't really pay too much attention to at the time, but, you know, obviously being there and knowing, you know, some of the history to come out of there, you know, it was definitely a blessing, and I just wanted to, you know, carry on that tradition and, you know, continue to represent Noonan the right way, represent my family in the right way, and everything about, you know, me. So,
ladies and gentlemen, our final inductee tonight into the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, Alec Ogletree from Noonan, Georgia. And ladies and gentlemen, keep it going because I.J. Rosenberg is about to close it out.
Thanks, DJ. I want to thank all our MCs. Y'all give the MCs a big hand. A lot of them, most all of them have made their own legacies. Before y'all leave, we want to get all the Hall of Famers up on the stage, including the Hall of Famers from the last 2 years. So if all the Hall, and Robert, we've got a ramp for you so we can push you up. Again, want to thank everybody for coming and want to congratulate all the new inductees. Everyone have a safe drive home. Thank you.
Let's do it. Welcome in, bro. I appreciate you.
Combinations pushes through the guard of Tutu. Nice left kick to the body from Semele. Minute down, good shot, a break right hand. Takes another right hand. Another right hand. He's in trouble here, Tutu. He really is in trouble. The Moroccan magic being sprinkled here in Abu Dhabi as this young man took absolute flush shots to the chin and comes back. Making him miss now, Semele's got his distance better. Another left hook. He's got to watch that right hand, Tutu. Long left hook from him. Right hand from Tutu. Good right hand, sneaks over the top of the shoulder of Tutu from Semele. Body shots, right knee. one of them does go forward, which one will. Don't know which one that'll be at the moment. Bounces back, eyes wide, right hand, just missing with left hook. A nod of appreciation from Semele for the skills of Tutu on the last minute. Tight round this one, really is. Very, very tight, close round this. Good shot over the top from Semele. Good right hands, combinations back from Maroon. Kick inside, there's a big left up. Could swing it in people's favour this, as it gets caught. Good body shots and combinations back. Look at this, it's to and fro, isn't it? Last 10 seconds, spinning back this attempt from Tutu. Jumping kick is fresh air. Tight round. Absolutely don't know. Really tight round. I absolutely don't know who's got that round. It's really close. Let's see, as the judges deliberate, it's not going to be popular either way. Look at some of the action here. He forced himself forward at times, Maroon. There was times when he was hurt in his own corner by Semele's right hand. There's one, bang, lands straight on the chin. Goes to his own right, throws left uppercut, right hand, and really put pressure on the Moroccan. But he survived, and he came